Game, sports, culture, politics show with me, Coach Orlando of Align Performance, and our friend Professor Michelle. Say hello to the folks.
What up, though? I'm not from Detroit, but what up, though?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I just saw this is starting us off right away with
Let's
Mr.
go.
ADHD, but I
Yeah.
just saw this guy. He's been doing this white guy, and I don't know what got him started or if he's been doing it, and I just discovered this. But he's been posting these videos where he's asking black people to bring back certain slang.
Mm-hmm.
Like today was Mark Ass Buster. And can I just tell you, I don't know. I'm glad you laughed like that because I was like, I'm not sure this is as funny as my reaction to it. I was like cracking up. I'm like, this, first of all, how does this man know all these phrases? And second of all, the fact that he's like, no, but I missed the phrase Mark Ass Buster. And I'm asking, and I'm not gonna just use it. Like I know I need y'all.
Right,
I'm asking you, please bring it back.
Bring it back. No, it's such a great phrase. I hadn't heard it, and I hadn't heard it in forever. You know?
That was my reaction. I was like, yeah, maybe we should bring that back.
It does need to be resurrected.
This man might have a point.
It feels like it's appropriate in this moment. So I think it like the
That
moment almost
part.
begs for it to be revived.
That part. We might as well
Oh
go
my
on
gosh.
and get into what we get into.
Let's do it.
So basically, so the short version is we were figuring out what we were going to talk about today. And so I reached out to Professor Michelle, and she shared an article, the title of which is, I want to get this right, How the Middle East Crisis Has Affected Sporting Events and Athletes. And I thought, great. And we'll talk about some of the specifics you brought up as we go, and you'll dive in on that. But in a broad way, I want to start us off and say what that set me down a path of, it didn't have to be like this.
Yes.
I want to sort of share that up front because that'll probably fuel most of my commentary today. But like, it seems to me that there are times in this life, even when it comes to war, like people who are like, oh, and then there'll be no war. I'm like, that's a lot to ask. Like, let's,
yeah.
But what we ain't got to do is make up wars to go fight. We certainly ain't got to.
Yeah. Enough going on without all of that.
You know what I mean? And the fact that right now, and I'm just gonna go through go to the political piece directly, and then we can sort of. But right now, as we're in Iran illegally, by the way, let's put that aside. Unconstitutionally, let's put that aside. I mean, which is a couple humongous things to be put aside. But let's put those aside for a second. And even as we're doing that, and people are going, seems like we're getting into another quagmire war. There's already talk of the next war.
Yeah.
They're already talking about going into Cuba. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, y'all are doing, I think that qualifies as the most. I mean, that qualifies as doing like, you went in, you already took somebody's sovereign leader out and kidnapped them, brought them to New York on different charges than you told us you was going to get them for. You know, kill somebody else's leader, and now we going to Cuba?
Yeah.
What?
I don't have any real reaction to that. It feels as though we are just kind of, to your point, looking for trouble and looking to create chaos. Like not just unnecessarily, but like unprovoked.
What are we doing?
Unwarranted, based on, and I'm specifically honing in on the offered, what I'm going to call pretense for why we, along with Israel, attacked Iran, right? Like this whole concern about nuclear armament and their, when the intelligence, as I understand it, suggests that they are nowhere near being a threat on that level, right? So it's like, but I mean, getting to intelligence, we are so compromised from an intelligence community standpoint.
Seriously.
That, that's concerning in this moment as well. All of which comes back to how this has had this impact on a sports community that is it could be less attuned to, right?
Right.
What all of this could mean for us, right? Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I think we've seen ripples of it, some more serious than others. I mean, the men's hockey team should have done better in that locker room moment. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for them. They are grown. I did notice, as will often be the case when white men act crazy, everybody started using the word boy. I'm like, there's millionaires in that room. Don't you even try it.
yeah,
But anyway, but okay, that is none of that happens if we're not in the unnecessary chaos we're in. Why was Cash Patel there in the first? Like a mutual friend of ours, I won't use her name right now because I didn't ask her permission to tell the story yet. Whatever. But you're familiar with the Black Table at Yale. And so we were all hanging out. I think this was my freshman year. And someone came in to whatever, lunch or whatever time it was. And this woman had on a white pleather belt. And it was awful. It was an awful belt by any measure. We were just like, what's happening right now? Right? So everybody starts clowning, blah, 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 blah. How the Black Table.
yes, I do.
So everybody like now it's half Def Jam, Def Comedy Jam, half roast. Like it's just
full roast. Yeah,
everybody's just getting their jokes off. And our mutual friend stopped everybody. I've told this story before. It stopped everybody and said, I think we're focusing on the wrong thing. So everybody's like, what? And she goes, the issue is not that, I'll just say that she put on that white pleather belt this morning. The issue is that she had that belt in her closet to put on this morning. Now, in addition to having me laying out my chair like a crazy person laughing.
True Def Jam, like Def Comedy
Jam.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Like just, right? But even beyond that, that comment has come back to me over the years. I mean, we're good 35 years almost from the day I would have heard that. Mm-hmm. And I'm still quoting it because it strikes me. It was funny, but it was so insightful. Like sometimes we just look at the one thing or the one choice and we don't look more broadly at like, but why was that even the situation?
Right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The men's hockey team might have got away with a little, it was the president and we was laughing if we didn't have a SAVE Act right now trying to take away women's right to vote.
Yeah.
But we ain't gonna give you too much room to wiggle now when that's going on. Like all of this is so heightened. And so when you sent the piece about, the Mideast crisis and this athlete from India is trying to get back home and isn't going to do this event now. And these are people that train their entire lives. We know athletes' careers are, a blink.
For sure.
And it just seems so wrong. Like such a specific example, and there are other ways that people are impacted, obviously, in more, grave ways. But it just seems so wrong to make choices that we don't need to be making that have this kind of widespread impact, whether it's the lines now in the airports because of TSA or whatever. Like it's really bothering me. And I see it here and I go, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. It didn't have to be like this. Anyway, I've said a lot of words. You had thought about it specifically in terms of WNBA athletes, but where does this take you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like where this takes me is a place of like, I am reminded of the fact that the WNBA set tomorrow, the 10th, as the deadline for there to be, I guess, a finalized contract in order to not start to get into a place where the schedule for 2026 season gets affected, right? Like, so tomorrow's that day. I've not heard anything over the last few days. I've heard of back and forth packages being sent, but no substantive movement
That's the sense
right.
I got. Yeah.
And so, I don't know that. I think the players are increasingly positioning themselves to strike or to
Right.
be locked out, whatever.
Right.
Um, uh, so that's kind of in the backdrop for me as it pertains to what's going on in the Middle East, because so many players, except for those who do unrivaled, so many players whose names we don't know as
That
well
part. Mm-hmm.
are playing throughout the world, including the Middle East. And as of last week, there were three former women Gamecocks who played
I
for
heard that.
teams in Israel
I think
area,
I think it
like
was
Tel
yeah.
Aviv, and they were stuck
Right.
there.
Right. Which is true for a lot of Americans. But yes,
Which is
I'd
true
heard
for,
that about
they
them.
were among those who were stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Don Staley came out and made comments indicating that they were stuck, but that I guess South Carolina was using what resources they could to get them
Mm-hmm.
home. I do know that one of them is now home. One of the
Okay. I
three,
hadn't heard that. Okay, great.
Littleton,
Okay.
but the other two are presumably okay, but still there. And the fact that the wages provided by the WNBA aren't sufficient enough for them to be able to live off of that alone during the course of a year. The fact
Right.
that they are over there in the first place.
Right.
Like
And this was the Brittany Griner conversation to
Well,
some degree, right?
exactly. A little
Mm-hmm.
different, but you'll never be able to convince me that she wasn't targeted.
Oh.
Right. So
I didn't even think anybody was trying to say that.
Granted, she had the bait, she had the bait for her, but she was targeted. But she's only over there because that's where she makes her money. That's where she makes her money. I mean, even who am I trying to call? Was it Breonna Stewart? I think she still plays.
Oh, really? That I didn't know.
So. I think so. So, I mean, a lot of our favorite faves still dabble in those international leagues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and,
go ahead.
No. I didn't mean to, but that speaks to, for me, and I felt like this conversation would go this way. Excuse me, sort of how systems impact outsider groups. I'm gonna put it that way, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of times I think what gets lost is it's not just that first level issue, right? It's not just, okay, so because of all sorts of factors, we don't need to detail all of them. We have this WNBA negotiation that really seems like the players are being, okay, I'm biased. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. But my sense of it is the players are being relatively reasonable in terms of, these are the current economics. This is the situation. We now have Unrivaled, where we can see all the books, and we are showing that, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and because of the politics around that, then folk have to go travel, and then then they get stuck over there. And it seems to me that the same people are making, the same class of people are making these decisions. And I thought it was particularly interesting and galling, frankly, that in the midst of all the global chaos we have initiated, this ain't just like, oh, the world's a crazy place. It's like we just walk around knocking stuff over. And then there's an NIL conference at the White House.
Yes, this past Friday.
And I'm like, I know you got something else to do. I know. I know you got something else to do. So it feels like, you know what I mean? I feel like these same people are making all these decisions that are making a number of groups' lives specifically difficult. And I'm starting to wonder how much of this is by mistake.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to feel like, what now? Yeah. This isn't the global part, but I'll say quickly, it struck me in that NIL conversation, as we've said about some other things, boy, oh boy, everything was going along just
Just
fine
fine. It was
till
just
some young
fine.
black people started putting money in their pocket, and then it was whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and this is a little rabbit hole. I'm going to hop down right quick and try to get back out of it quickly. Fascinating, not surprising that the solution for all of this is a purported executive order, right? Which does not have the power of a Supreme Court decision, which does not have the power of congressional enactments of laws. An executive order is not going to, it will likely get challenged,
Right.
because if we're talking about an antitrust exemption, there's only one league in this country that has an antitrust exemption, and that's Major League Baseball. And it's over a century old. And the thing and the only carve out for that exemption was enacted in 1998 with the passage of the Curt Flood Act, which allowed
free agency.
for
Right.
like players to sue for antitrust. But there's a very specific employment related carve out of that antitrust exemption. But every other aspect of the MLB's business, unlike the NFL, unlike the NBA, no, like literally every other league
Nobody
has been
else,
deemed, because it's interstate commerce. And for some reason, the Supreme Court over the last century has been loath just to call a thing. Like, yes, Major League Baseball is large enough to be, to constitute interstate commerce.
Right.
And that's really all it takes,
Right.
So they've kind of punted to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And the only exemption that Congress has been prone to extend to MLB is around this employment law issue, right?
I didn't know that part. Okay.
So yeah, so this is truly something for that Congress, to the extent that something needs fixing or guardrails.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court has spoken on this. Austin is the law of the land, right? So it is, if something else needs to be done, it's for Congress to do. And what something else might be, like, do I think that I think it's all a farce, because, and I know we've gone off. I've gone off.
No, but I think it's related. I think it's the current political situation.
If folks wanted to treat NIL like as what it was supposed to be, you wouldn't. For one, I can't believe I'm saying this, but, and it's first and only, Urban Meyer was right. Ugh.
Whew.
That's
a tough one. That's a tough one. I admire your courage saying that out loud. That's a tough one. Go ahead.
To the extent that he said that NIL collectives should be verboten, like they should, because the notion of NIL fundamentally is about individualism. What do you mean there's a collective to pay people for their individual, like NIL is my name, image, and likeness. NIL is your name. And how is there a collective to pay groups of different people for their collective name, image, and likeness?
So
fundamentally a tension there. So the collectives need to go. Folks need, and the NIL piece of it just needs to be enforced. Like, if we want to get into paying like schools playing players, it's lost on me why they can't be treated as work-study students. When I was at Yale, I worked.
Yeah, and I've never understood that. So maybe
there's something I'm
learn
missing.
More, I'll learn more. But yeah, I've always thought, like, I had the same reaction as you. It's like, I mean, they obviously get paid significantly more, but I got paid to go work intramurals. I got paid to do work at the house. I did all sorts of stuff. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, so it's just, there are things to solve around it, but that was all performative to me on Friday. I'll admit, I am disappointed in those who chose to engage, because it is a farce.
Right.
No executive order is going to pass legal muster.
Right.
I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it. I'm not going to be the last one to say it.
Yeah.
But it's the same folks controlling outcomes and systems and structures.
And I do think this is, I'd seen. Now it's also when I get into my anti-intellectual stuff, and we're gonna come back to the actual topic in a second. But I remember seeing years ago. I mean, my kids were little, so I know it had to have been, a good 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That the United States had passed out of being any kind of democracy whatsoever, and it was already an oligarchy then.
Okay.
And I feel like that came out of Princeton. For some reason, that sticks in my head, Princeton. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I see it showing up in so many ways now. We'd even talked about, right? Like another part of the college conversation is like these, there's a percentage of the 1% who have the kind of money we're talking about, who can come in and basically like change the course of a sports program. And we ain't we talking about football programs now. And we, this ain't, not to diss water polo. Water polo is a great sport, but you wouldn't expect one person to be able to come and change the course of a program.
The way we frame it is the non-revenue generating sports, right?
There we go.
Right. That's how we're going to pretty that up. The non-revenue generating sports.
All right. That's
yeah. Mark Cuban isn't giving $10 million to Indiana's lacrosse team.
Just right.
He's not like.
and so I go, how much of our lives are we going to have absolutely controlled by like 8 dudes?
It's literally that smaller group when you think in terms
seriously,
of like,
look at what's happening in media.
Yeah. The same cats owning same 2 cats owning everything.
This is a problem.
It's a problem. Elon owning Starlink.
What are we talking about? Like I think the fact and I think I don't even want benevolent people in that position. I just think like that's not the point. But when you have people with that amount of power who don't care if South Carolina basketball players are stuck somewhere, they don't care about none of people. I saw reports from people who were like, I called the embassy. There was like an outgoing message. They treated them folks like they had called in, and the sale was over or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of acted like, well, what you want us to do? I was like, well, you could have not started a war. Like this is what I keep coming back to. It did not have to be this way. And now these sporting events will be impacted. These athletes will be impacted. People are going to end up putting themselves in harm's way because I'm sure a lot of these athletes are like, I'm going. I've been training for this my whole life. I'm going.
Perhaps outside of the Winter Olympics, the next global event we have coming that we're hosting in this fine country, FIFA, right?
Girl.
What does that look like now? It was already shaky to begin with, but what does that look like now?
What does the security for that look like? That's my other thing. I'm like, hey, you think you're just gonna walk around slapping people across the face and ain't nobody eventually gonna be like, you know what? I'm like,
yeah.
And I see black folks online joking, and I've told the jokes too, like, hey, I ain't got nothing to do with it. But we standing too close to them. If something goes down, there's just no way that black folks just gonna be like, whew, thank goodness
glad
that
I
didn't touch it.
Right.
There's no way. There's no way. And so I go, like, I'm just back to this thing of how do we start checking this and how do we adjust the entire conversation? Like I think this WNBA negotiation, frankly, I think it's an embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
People are talking as if the women players are not seriously like our salaries have to match the men dollar for dollar. They're not saying that.
And
people are treating it like they are.
Right.
And so I'm like, what are we like? Is the entire system of this seems to be supporting the vast majority of us being at best inconvenienced and at worst really put in harm's way. Like, I'm very nervous for these WNBA players. It already wasn't great.
Right, right. I'm super worried about them, and I just wonder with everything else going on for them, particularly around the negotiations, like what is the proactive plan for these athletes?
My
These
sense is that,
players you don't
sorry, go ahead.
hear. No, no, you got it. Like you just don't know.
I get the sense that there isn't one, right? I get the sense that, I don't generally watch Saturday Night Live, but I will hear, oh, this happened on Saturday Night Live, and I'll go watch that, right?
Mhm.
No real reason I'm not boycotting it, just my viewing pattern. And they had the Pete Hegseth Open with Colin Yost, and one of his jokes was like, if we don't know what we're doing, Iran definitely doesn't know what we're doing, which is funny as a joke on Saturday Night Live. it ain't funny for the rest of us living our lives.
It's not. It's not.
And I think that's really where we are.
Yeah.
Like, I think tomorrow morning, one of these clowns could wake up and be like, I got an idea, and it could really just be that simple, and we'll be on some other situation. I'm really, and it's in the context of sports. I think there's a sports conversation to be had around it. But when I saw those people gather, like you said, on Friday for that, that performance in the middle of a war, I thought, like, what are we?
We've lost the plot. We've
lost the plot completely. What are we doing? And
Yeah.
I'm having a really it's really challenging me beyond the sports piece, but in the sports piece, I feel like, so because of this political situation, the women's hockey team's experience of their Olympics was, the men's hockey team, the entire country. Now here I got up at 5 a.m. I got my first little slice of USA that I'd had in a very long time. And that was ruined by the end of the day. I couldn't make it. I could have my little patriotic moment for 24 hours.
Grand opening, grand closing.
Grand opening, grand closing. I it's not that I have an answer. I think that's what you hear me kind of rambling, because I feel like I should be like saying this and then landing at, and that's why. But I don't have the and that's why yet. I really just have this sense that whether it's the powers that be in these leagues, or it's, like you said, why who is a serious person who thought, yay, we gonna go to the White House on Friday and fix NIL?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're the grown-ups in all this. We're the grown-ups to go like, no, actually, no, we're not doing that on Friday. That's insane. It's not gonna help. And why would that be the priority today?
Right. Like tone deafness personified. And we'll only mention in passing that, the lack of representation of women and women of color in that space whose voices actually matter.
I didn't see it.
No, it was like,
I can only imagine.
Condoleezza Rice. And I'm gonna need our good sister Rice to at some point back away from the table and say, you know what, I'm not gonna be the pawn anymore. Like my pawn days are over. I am smarter than everybody who might have called me to do this. And I have a moral compass somewhere that has decided to kick in because I don't get down with authoritarian regimes. Like I don't know. So it was like her and like the
I didn't realize
commissioner of
for that.
Like the commissioner of one of the mid-major conferences, but the real voices, some real strong women voices. I mean, she is what she is, but I mean, like Kathy Engelbert
should have been there. If we're gonna do this, then yeah.
If you're gonna do it, have Kathy. If you're gonna do it, have some. Now I don't think there are no women commissioners of the Power 4 or 5 or whatever it is now.
Right, right.
But there are some women ADs at Division I programs that have high levels of success. Now, the gotcha is the two that I'm thinking of at Vandy and Virginia specifically are Black women. So the likelihood of them being in alignment ideologically with what was going on last Friday probably rendered them not likely to be invited. I'm not assuming any of their politics, but
But I don't think you're far off. I mean, we did have the story, and this is outside of sports. We did have the story of the governor's breakfast or whatever.
and all the Dems were disinvited. Yeah.
So it's not. You're not.
It's not
It's not like you're just wildly making stuff up. I mean, it would be.
There's
It
a
would
precedent.
actually.
There's a precedent.
Yeah, it would be. It would be actually far more interesting to me if that hadn't been the case. If suddenly I'd have been like, oh wow, like what's going on over there? But in raising that, I think you highlight what I'm saying, or what I'm feeling, I should say, about the systems of it all, right? That when you start out with an administration that's saying, get rid of DEI, get women back, quite literally get women back in the kitchen, which like I grew up thinking was like a bad sexist joke. Like, I never thought that would be like a real thing we were looking at as like what we might think might happen. When you start there, then of course you're not going to consider the impact on WNBA players. Of course you're going to make that joke and set up this whole thing now with these two hockey teams. Of course you're not going to invite women, which by the way, Title IX says this stuff is going to impact women. Like you can't, unless you get rid of Title IX altogether, you can't do anything you're talking about doing without impacting women's sports. Right. So why wouldn't they be invited? And I think it's all feeding in together to have some folks' interests not at all represented.
Not the least of which being the players.
Yeah.
Like active players.
I feel like the athletes are completely, bad is strong, but I looked at that picture of those men's hockey players eating their McDonald's. I was like, wow. Like, you got to think some of them was sitting there thinking like, I played myself. Yeah. Like whatever language they would use to say it for themselves. I know I'm of a certain age. But I would have been sitting there like, oh, I played myself. I could have got McDonald's on my way home. I didn't have to be a part of all this.
And here's the thing.
I have to be a part of all this.
I'm going to assume because they're elite athletes, like McDonald's is probably not at the top of the list of things they mess with.
Then there's that part. But you see but I know that's kind of like the comical side of it, but to me, it's indicative. When you have a system, when you have a worldview that is not just devoid of empathy, but stripped of its empathy.
Oh yeah, like craven indifference to the suffering of the world, right? Like there's almost
like, and if it hurts somebody, that's a bonus.
Good, yeah. Good. That's. Yeah,
and so I think then, of course, no one in the room thought to say, are we for real about to serve elite athletes McDonald's? Like, for real. Like, I'm not saying they got to get a 7-course meal. I'm just saying, for real, is that, because I know I don't even eat that much McDonald's, and I am surely far from an elite athlete these days.
Right.
But I don't, and I'm searching for it, because I think one thing that I like about sports, and sometimes we compare it in society, I'm gonna toss it to you, is like there's a simplicity to the conversation sometimes, because at the end of the day, like generally or whatever, it's two athletes or it's two teams, it's a place and a time, and it's and there's rules, so you can really see sometimes, I think, how things are playing out. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you talk about it in healthcare, right, then like. And I'm really seeing people are gonna suffer.
They are. We are, right? Like
right, that part. but I do think like there's gonna be suffering behind these choices, and I'm not, even if it was lip service once upon a time, like I don't feel like when we went into Iraq, I was truly getting vibes of IDGAF from the president about the troops. Like, even if in my heart I was like, well, if you really cared about him, you would, like, you got the sense that on some basic level, he ain't want to see American troops. I really think this dude don't care, and I think, and I think that means he don't care if there's a retaliatory attack. He don't care if you traveling in Europe and get hemmed up. He don't.
He doesn't care if you're traveling in America and get hemmed up. If you are in America and become victim to an attack, like
And
he
said as
doesn't,
much.
and it said like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it could happen, and so with that, you don't have any. It's easy to get in the mindset of not having hope that an off ramp is going to be taken when, like,
That
so something that
that
should be handled in a matter of days, certainly no more than weeks. We don't have any sense that this couldn't go on for years.
I'm starting to wonder, and I'm trying to remember if you mentioned it before we started or once we got started, but I'm starting to wonder how many countries are going to be like, you know what, we all good on the World Cup.
It's on the table now. I mean, it just has to be.
Right? I mean, like, again, like, these dudes are reckless. Like, it's not, to me, we've crossed out of like political ideology into like, these dudes are just reckless in general.
Right. And I don't trust, like, I'm not confident in our intelligence to have ears to the ground to know what could be going on and what's popping up in the different host cities that somebody needs to have a handle on. Like,
or
yeah.
frankly, that, as was the case as I was sharing with you about, you know, COVID, and that being sort of, I think in some ways just a real template for, you know, how this might be viewed, or that if it's inconvenient to report that or pass it down the line within the government to make sure it's handled, if it somehow messes up something else that is important to dear leader, that they wouldn't just be like, sucks for those 40 people on that bus, but
yeah.
And that's deep. That is deeply concerning for me. I am very concerned about the World Cup, the dangers to people there. But anyone traveling, anyone going anywhere, reckless. It's funny. I sometimes will quote The Godfather. It's like one of my favorite movies.
Oh, love it.
And
yeah.
And it's a great, you know, whatever. And it's got its sexism. It's got, you know, like, yes. And one moment where it is sexist, but the underlying message speaks to me is Don Corleone says to Michael, you know, he goes, women and children, which that's the sexist part. Women and children can afford to be careless, but not men. Now I would say children can afford to be careless, not adults, but it was made in 1972. Let's move on.
We'll give up. Yeah.
But, you know, but I think that's why that article grabbed me the way it did. I had an emotional response to that article. Right? Like, I even tried to like tell you before we started, like, I'm not having an intellectual experience right now. Like, that's not what's happening.
Visceral.
And it's because like this didn't need to go on, and people are being harmed. I mean, never mind, to not lose perspective, people have been killed. More people will be killed. Like, I don't want to like, oh, the worst thing about this is that athletes are inconvenienced. But yeah, that's my reaction, is like, oh, and they don't care. Like, they'll do it, you know, like they say, like, and I'll do it again. Like, I feel like, man, they'll do it again.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I know I'm rambling on that, but yeah, I guess we were gonna do a little shorter tape. Any sort of final thoughts on it, or anything that you see out in front of us to keep an eye on in
Um,
terms of these issues?
no, I mean, I'm curious what the next, several days are going to bring, just as far as what develops there, and any reports of athletes who are trapped like those Gamecock women.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
hopefully hearing more in the way of more people being able to get back to their home countries, whether it's U.S. or
Yeah.
otherwise.
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, if things expand, I mean, we have to expand the conversation. I mean, if we get into a place where, and it's hard to imagine where we start implicating like Europe, like Europe, like
I'm, but
Europe, like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
I mean, this seems like this is getting out of hand.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, I know what we're talking about is considered a part of Europe, right?
Well,
It's kind of in that,
yeah. I mean, but I know what you mean when you
but
say,
like,
yeah,
if
France.
if it expands
You know what I mean? Yes.
westward,
Right.
if there's kind
Right.
of, or if forget like expansion and like a geographic sense, but if like NATO Article 5 really gets amped up and the hooty hoo call goes out to all NATO members, then
Hey, look,
that's a different level. And maybe that's where the WNBA uh, as a league gets more incentivized to work some reasonable
and
pay
figure this
structure
out.
out to get those
Yeah.
players that are in countries that they thought were safe. I think a part
Right.
of the
Yeah,
a part
that's
of
a
the
great
challenge
point.
is there are too many people that think they're safe because it's not knocked on their door yet.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
your point about like folks not caring, they don't care about escalating it to the point of knocking on somebody's door. That could happen
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah.
So
We was talking spicy to Spain. I was like, I didn't even know we could talk spicy to Spain. I didn't know that was a thing.
Spain has,
Really?
yeah, like I don't know that we do, like, or like I think we have a military presence in Spain. So
Right.
can we?
So
And Spain is, World War II. They managed to keep they had their own thing going on. They managed to stay out of the fray, if you will, right?
yeah, I'm like,
But they are a part of
we
NATO.
that, and I am deeply concerned that we are not. I think that, again, I think the sports story allows us to consider some of these things. I don't think that's the story, but that's what
It's
we're here
not,
talking
but it
about.
makes it more accessible for us because
Yeah.
we likely know some of these players or some of these athletes or their teams.
Yeah.
So there's some point of connection there that we wouldn't have with necessarily like a typical citizen in these impacted countries. But obviously those citizens are more profoundly impacted, right? Because at least the athletes have some potential of being able to tap into, because it's a lot of oligarchs own those teams and are
I
moneyed.
know. I
So
know.
so the athletes likely have resources that are unavailable to the rank and file members
To
of these
the
countries, right? So
right.
they're better
Right.
off than a lot of people.
Which,
But
I mean, I've seen, and this will be my last thing on it, and we can say where folks can find us, but I saw a story recently. Now it seemed like the person was a Trump voter, which is why they were in their feelings about it. But wherever they were, they walked into a bar and there was news on and it wasn't great. And somebody turned and said, "Oh, you're American. Who'd you vote for?" And not only didn't she share who she voted for, but went into a whole speech about,
she
oh,
got
no, I think
defensive
about
about
that.
a homegirl in Ireland.
Yes.
She and her husband
Yes,
in Ireland.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I think we all know who you voted for. But anyway, beyond that, I mean, I was like, come on, girl. But beyond that, at what point does that person in Ireland go, I don't really give a damn who you voted for? Y'all messing up the world.
Right.
I got beef with all y'all.
With everybody. Yeah.
I don't think that's so crazy that it could go that way.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Which is like, just being American is going to be the scarlet letter. It doesn't matter where your vote fell. It won't matter at a certain point.
I would hate to be the one who gets caught up, but I can't be like, I don't understand. I totally understand.
I totally get it.
I totally get it. So anyhow, hopefully whatever is gonna derail the bad part of this will happen and blah blah blah. But yeah, that I will just sort of reiterate that it was a visceral reaction to just like, why are we here?
Yeah, the article does a good job of kind of comprehensively summarizing like all the impacts.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe it was the goat
like
part of that, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no,
You
no,
take
no.
yeah.
It's just it's understandable why it might have struck you a certain way because it was just
Yeah.
all there. Like you have this litany in front of you that you probably hadn't. You maybe thought
I
of things
cer
singularly, but seeing them all in toto together was like,
I think you're right. I think that's
yeah,
part of it was like the picture being put together was like, whoa, that's a lot. At any rate, check us out. Align Originals. Check out the You Got Some Balls playlist. You got Align Family. We've got the Cipher. Come through. We want to be being our best selves, living our best lives as citizens of the world and in our
that's right.
personal lives and in our relationships and in all the ways. So that's why we take on some of these different topics. Professor Michelle, I know you've been sort of letting us know the writing is coming. Anywhere you want folks
It's coming.
to look, or should we keep hope? Should we hold?
Keep
Are we hold?
listen. Keep hope alive. R.I.P. Dr. Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We should have
But
shouted him out. But yes,
yes.
R.I.P.
So you can find me on, in the meantime, I am trying to get the writing thing together, but in the
Mm-hmm.
meantime, you can find me on AMC the JD on Instagram.
Got it. So I will also put that in the notes. I've been getting some of the notes done. I'm getting us there. So
You're
I will get
good.
that into the show notes for sure.
Awesome.
All right now.
Okay.
Till next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.